Welcome to Record Time. I'm a few minutes late today because I was asleep. So, here we are. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good day. I have the Akashic Records open. Freshly opened. And today I'd love to explore this notion. How can we let go of our seriousness? How can we invite in more playfulness? How can we release that heaviness that weighs us down so that we can feel lighter? And with the way that this video started, even just 1 minute in, if you don't know me, based on this 1 minute, you might be like, what do you need to lighten up for? You clearly don't take this very seriously. But I think I do. At least my mind does. My mind overthinks, and my mind really loves to control. And I want to invite in more levity, and perhaps you take things seriously too. And that's a quality that you really want to invite in on a more regular basis, is levity, lightness of spirit. So, let's see what the masters, teachers, and loved ones have to share with us today. They're saying, first, why levity? Why lightness? Why does one want to feel lighter? What's admirable about this quality? When you take things too seriously, you can become stagnant, feeling weighed down, and they're like the burden of responsibility, the weight, right? And it's like, think of the language that we use. It's like, yeah, you're carrying a burden, the burden of responsibility. They carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. That is a phrase that we use to convey massive responsibility, a massive sense of responsibility. But that responsibility isn't actually there. And they're like, just look at the world's leaders, the ones that we think would have a sense of the world being on their shoulders. They feel the least responsible sometimes, or at least they look that way. And there's no judgment there. It's almost just like, no matter what position you are in life, there's room to embody a lightness of spirit, and almost a carefree kind of way of being, and ultimately balance is what humans aspire to. Balance. It's nice to have personal responsibility, accountability, to have some motivation. That sense of responsibility provides motivation to show up and have integrity and do your best. But that sense of responsibility only takes us so far. At a certain point, every quality crosses over from beneficial to almost malevolent, right? There's a threshold where every quality crosses from helping us to not serving us. And so they're saying, have a sense of responsibility, but don't take it too far. Have a sense of lightheartedness, but don't take that too far either, you know. You can't have only lightheartedness without any responsibility. That sense of responsibility is what keeps us from violently, like, swirling through the world, you know. A sense of responsibility keeps us from not causing harm. It keeps us centered. But lightness of spirit is also valuable. Finding a balance between the two is something to aspire to. The lightness of spirit is what informs our resilience. When you feel overburdened, if your sense of responsibility is too great, if you're too heavy with responsibility, then it's hard to get back up when you fall. It's very difficult. If you feel the weight of the world on you, if you fall down, imagine that weight of the world is crushing you. It's very hard to rise up and lift that weight up to stand again. But if you reduce that load and you walk through the world with a reasonable amount of responsibility on your shoulders, when you fall down, it's very easy to rise back up. The lightness of spirit helps you rise back up. So they're really looking at responsibility like a weight. Don't take on more than you can carry, and don't be deluded as to what you are meant to carry to begin with. Don't overburden yourself, and don't pick up other people's responsibilities unnecessarily. Be wary and keep your eyes open and clear as to what is yours to carry and what is not. And if you find, upon reflection, that you are carrying more weight, more responsibility than perhaps you are meant to, you can always put it down. No one's forcing you to carry it. There's always another way. You can always set down what is not yours to carry. You're always allowed to make yourself lighter by setting down what is not yours to carry. And they're saying, you know, further than that, even taking time to set down your own responsibility for brief moments to stretch is acceptable too. And it's necessary to keep the body healthy. So they're literally looking at this as a physical thing through that kind of lens, through that metaphor. If you're carrying a heavy weight, right? Imagine perhaps your responsibility is a backpack, and maybe in that backpack it has like your own notebooks and some water and some food, and you're carrying it around as your to-do list, perhaps not. And you carry it around, and those who feel overwhelmed, overburdened with responsibility have maybe told their friends who they're hiking with, who they're walking with, hey, you know, I can carry your backpack, don't worry, or I have room in my backpack for your stuff. Let me take your notebook, I can carry it for you. Oh, you're carrying some rocks? Here, I can take that for you, no problem. And you're carrying this really heavy backpack, and you know, eventually you'll become very fatigued because you're carrying more than you're meant to, for usually longer than you're meant to. The only difference with this is that we don't realize that we have other people's things in our backpacks. So take a moment to take your backpack off, open it up, and assess, what are you carrying? Do you need to be carrying this? Does this actually belong to someone else? Perhaps it's time to give that back to them. And then before you put it back on, you've been hiking for a long time. Take time to stretch. Keep the backpack down, maybe, roll your neck. Jump up and down. Twist your back. Do some cartwheels. Drink some of the water you've been carrying. Eat some of the food you've been carrying. Sit down. Enjoy your picnic. And then, when you feel refreshed, take the backpack, which is actually a little lighter now because you've given back what's not yours, but you've also used some of the things you've been carrying to nourish yourself. And then you keep walking, feeling very rejuvenated and happy to be walking, more alive, more clarity to take in the sights, to enjoy what you're doing, to enjoy the hike, to enjoy the journey. And they're saying, but also be careful, don't set your backpack down and leave it. Don't leave your responsibilities completely, because then you'll be left without food and water. Right? You won't have any of your things with you. It'll bite you later on if you're not carrying your responsibility with you. But take what is necessary and don't carry too much for other people. Notice if you're carrying other people's things. There's times when that's necessary, if perhaps your friend is taking a break or tying their shoe, or maybe you're traveling with a little child and you're carrying some of their things, but at a certain point you give those things back to them and they carry their own weight. Again, another phrase that we use often. So just insert that phrase here. Carry your own weight and move on, and you'll feel lighter. We'll just let that sink in. I just want to remind you again, you have permission to take breaks. You have permission to set your backpack down completely for a little while. You have permission to give people back their belongings that you've been carrying, their responsibility that you've been carrying. It's allowed. You're allowed. You're allowed. Nothing bad will happen to you by giving those things back, by letting go of what isn't yours to carry. Don't talk yourself into thinking that you have to do something, that you have to carry something for someone else. Use your own discretion and don't carry anything longer than you're meant to. When you keep that backpack light, you can go farther. I hope that made sense. It was a fun little metaphor. And it feels like there's much more to that topic, but I think this is a good place to end for today. So we will leave it there, and perhaps we'll come back to that topic another time. I hope you have a beautiful evening or day, whatever time it is where you are. And I hope you keep your backpack light. I'll see you next week. Namaste.